In a move that has sent shockwaves through the international community, Ukrainian forces have launched a daring incursion into Russian territory. This offensive, primarily focused on the Belgorod region, marks a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict. Ukrainian troops have successfully penetrated several miles beyond the border, engaging in fierce clashes with Russian forces. This operation represents a strategic departure for Ukraine. It signals a shift from defensive operations to a more assertive posture. The aim is twofold: to disrupt Russian logistics and supply lines, and to ratchet up pressure on Moscow. By taking the fight to Russian soil, Ukraine aims to demonstrate its resolve and ability to strike beyond its own borders. The immediate impact of this incursion has been significant. It has forced Russia to divert troops and resources to counter the Ukrainian advance. This diversion comes at a critical juncture, as Russia is already heavily engaged in eastern Ukraine. The offensive has also exposed vulnerabilities in Russia's border defenses, raising questions about the effectiveness of its military capabilities. The Ukrainian operation has been met with a mix of apprehension and cautious optimism by international observers. Some see it as a necessary gamble to break the current stalemate in the conflict. Others worry about the potential for a wider escalation. What is clear is that Ukraine's cross-border raid has injected a new level of uncertainty and volatility into the war. Russia has responded swiftly and forcefully to the Ukrainian incursion, declaring a state of emergency in the affected regions. Moscow has mobilized troops and launched counter-offensives to repel the Ukrainian advance. Heavy fighting has been reported in and around several settlements in the Belgorod region. Russian forces are attempting to encircle the advancing Ukrainian units. This strategy, if successful, could cut off their supply lines and force a retreat. However, it carries its own risks. Encirclements are complex maneuvers that require precise coordination and can leave Russian forces vulnerable if not executed flawlessly. The situation in the nearby Kursk region is particularly concerning for Moscow. Ukrainian forces have made inroads there as well, raising fears of a potential pincer movement. If Ukraine can successfully encircle Russian troops in Kursk, it would be a major symbolic and strategic victory for Kyiv. Despite the robust Russian response, the Ukrainian incursion has exposed weaknesses in Russia's military posture. The fact that Ukrainian forces were able to penetrate Russian territory relatively easily raises questions about the preparedness and effectiveness of Russia's border defenses. This will be a cause for concern for the Kremlin, as it seeks to maintain control of the narrative and reassure its population. The Ukrainian incursion into Russia represents a significant escalation in the conflict, carrying with it both risks and potential rewards for Kyiv. By taking the fight to Russian soil, Ukraine is pursuing a high-stakes strategy aimed at disrupting Moscow's war effort and shifting the dynamics of the conflict in its favor. One of Ukraine's primary objectives is to divert Russian troops and resources away from the main battlefronts in eastern and southern Ukraine. By forcing Moscow to respond to the incursion, Kyiv hopes to alleviate pressure on its forces in those critical areas. This could buy Ukraine valuable time to regroup, resupply, and prepare for future offensives. The incursion also serves a crucial psychological purpose. By demonstrating its ability to strike inside Russia, Ukraine aims to boost the morale of its own forces and people while undermining Russian confidence. The operation sends a clear message that Ukraine is willing to take the fight to the enemy and will not be confined to a purely defensive posture. However, this strategy is not without risks. The incursion could provoke a more forceful response from Russia, potentially leading to a wider escalation of the conflict. It also risks alienating some of Ukraine's international supporters, who may be wary of actions that could broaden the scope of the war. The Ukrainian incursion into Russia has significantly heightened tensions, raising concerns about a potential spiral of escalation and retaliation. Both sides now face critical decisions that will determine the trajectory of the conflict. For Ukraine, the key question is how far to push its offensive. While the initial incursion has achieved some tactical successes, overextending its forces could leave them vulnerable to Russian counterattacks. Kyiv must carefully weigh the potential benefits of further advances against the risk of triggering a more devastating Russian response. Russia, on the other hand, must grapple with the challenge of responding decisively without further inflaming the situation. Moscow faces pressure to retaliate forcefully to deter future Ukrainian incursions and reassert its dominance. However, a disproportionate response could backfire, strengthening international support for Ukraine and potentially drawing NATO further into the conflict. One possible scenario is a tit-for-tat escalation, with both sides engaging in increasingly aggressive actions and reprisals. This could lead to a dangerous spiral of violence, making a negotiated settlement even more elusive. Another possibility is that one or both sides will opt for restraint, seeking to de-escalate the situation and prevent a wider conflagration. The Ukrainian incursion into Russia marks a pivotal moment in the conflict, with the potential to reshape the strategic landscape and long-term trajectory of the war. The ultimate implications of this daring gambit remain uncertain, hinging on a complex interplay of military calculations, political considerations, and international reactions. One potential outcome is a protracted stalemate, with neither side able to achieve a decisive victory. The conflict could devolve into a war of attrition, marked by intermittent clashes, cross-border raids, and a grinding human toll. This scenario would have devastating consequences for Ukraine, prolonging its suffering and hindering its reconstruction. Alternatively, the incursion could serve as a catalyst for renewed diplomatic efforts. The heightened stakes and potential for escalation might create a sense of urgency, pushing both sides towards the negotiating table. However, reaching a lasting peace agreement would require significant concessions from both Ukraine and Russia, something that seems unlikely in the current climate of mistrust and animosity. The international community has a crucial role to play in shaping the course of events. Western allies must continue to provide Ukraine with the military and economic support it needs to defend itself. At the same time, diplomatic channels must remain open to explore avenues for de-escalation and a negotiated settlement. The stakes are simply too high to allow this conflict to spiral out of control. This is Africa Social Intellect, your premier destination for thought-provoking discussions and insightful perspectives on the vibrant and diverse African community and beyond. Our dedication extends beyond conversations. In recognizing the importance of security, we provide essential information to help safeguard vulnerable nations. From navigating local challenges to assisting these vulnerable nations against imperialistic threats, we stand as a beacon of awareness and resilience. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share our news. If you're watching on Facebook or another platform, follow us and share this reliable news source. We hope you enjoy the news, and thank you for watching, and see you next time.